selling a show and having it made and come out is like climbing a 20 rung ladder, and you need all 20 yeses, but one no anywhere up there, you're knocked all the way down to the bottom. So it's so grueling, but there's a reason it's like that, because then everybody would be doing it. And I was super fortunate in that I had cool people around me, and we partnered early with our co-creator, this guy Victor Fresco, who made like Santa Clarita Diet and a show called Better Off Ted. It came out 20 years ago. But he was great. I don't like giving him too much credit, but Rob is a good co-partner, and his name helps move the needle, I guess. But it was crazy. It was 2 years essentially from the genesis of the idea, which I brought it to my dad, to when we rolled on it. I think it's 2 full years, and like that's not like taking 6 months off to go work on something else. That's me still working my job, actively writing on Lone Star, but in my free time, spending most of it, rewriting a pitch or an outline, or studying the pitch, or ruminating over what the world looks like, characters, talking to Victor, getting his advice, checking in with him, then, pitch, pilot, rewrite pilot, meetings with executives. And there's so much, like, how you can ice a kicker in football? It feels like it's just that the entire time. Right. They just want you on skates the whole time, I think. It's so scary. But it does make that feeling so surreal and so like rewarding when it becomes real. I just remember, like, I wish I could like bottle that feeling of when you get that yes. And there's a few of them that carry the same impact. It's like, yeah, we want to buy this project. We want you to write the pilot. And you're like, oh, and then we're going to make it. Yeah. And then here's your production date, whatever. The first day you go and walk through your sets. It's bananas. And I've never been a part of anything from the ground up like that. I've been fortunate to work in different facets, but that was like literally from the kernel of an idea, trying to integrate myself as much as possible in every, piece of development as an executive producer. So, hiring department heads and casting and set production, art design, all that stuff. It's been so fun. And when I'm feeling very like, healthy, I'm like, I'm just so grateful. And then there's days where I'm like, could be better, but that's why we work in this industry.
Yeah. Some days are tougher than others. Right. And some stuff goes wrong. You got to fix it. So I'm really interested because you just mentioned writing, co-starring, and executive producing. So like, I kind of came into the industry just kind of thinking producing, that's what I love. That's what I want to do. Now I'm writing and doing, experimenting with that a little bit, but like, what did you start with, and then how did you kind of branch off into all of it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I grew up not wanting to be an actor because my dad's an actor and he's, somewhat known. And I think that I was scared of the natural comparisons that would come with that, just because the little voice in your head that wants to instill doubt tells you like you'll never live up to that, or blah 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 blah. So I never humored that as a kid, and my parents didn't really want me to be one either, is the truth. I grew up not in LA. I grew up in Santa Barbara. I was kind of a nerd. We went to the same high school.
We went to the same high school. Shout out
to Kate School, which was hard.
Yeah,
it was hard
for sure.
I remember it being hard, and I worked my butt off, and I was an intern at a stem cell biology research lab every summer in high school. I thought I wanted to be a molecular biologist.
Wow.
I worked at the UCSF Eli Broth stem cell regenerative health stem cell lab, and I loved it, but I always wanted to do something creative. I knew I was artistic. I was still writing on the side.
Is that where the science portion of the show kind of
came from? A lot of
it,
yeah. So I'll give credit where credit is due. Victor helped formulate most of the world as well, but yes, the lab background, the science stuff, it was natural. It was sort of like we thought the nexus between what's the most interesting place to set this and also the most, realistic for us. And then I got into Stanford. I went there and didn't know what I wanted to study at all. And I was still writing. And then I remember just on a whim saying, I want to intern in a writer's room, which is funny because they're like, intern, it's not really a thing. So I was a production assistant. And it was on a show called The Grinder, which Rob was on. So it was again, another helpful sort of doorway. And I do think it's important, I'll say it here, but it's like, I acknowledge the Nepo baby thing big time. And I think it's important that people who do come from like privilege, which I definitely do, at least just acknowledge it. Like, I don't necessarily think people need to be on like an apology tour for it, but it is bullshit if I were to just sit here and be like, and I'm just like everybody else out there. I worked my ass from bottom to top. It's like, no, I had doors opened for me that other people didn't. And I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, but that's not to say you weren't working your ass off the whole time also, right?
For sure. I think it's a sort of like a simultaneous thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's important that I acknowledge it, and then I can also kind of defend myself and say, I was still working my butt off. But
I think if opportunity's there though, you should take it, And,
yeah.
And that's a good thing that, you were able to have that and then to take advantage of it too, because a lot of people could be in that same situation and not do anything with it. So the fact that you're leveraging what you have, which is what we should do in life regardless, to get us where we want to go, is dope.
I love that take. Yeah, I agree. And I think like it's about perspective. Really, like it's not, it goes with anything in life. If someone is successful or unsuccessful, whatever, it's like if they're self-aware and cool about their position, then I can get along with anyone. And same goes for me. Like, I have to be self-aware about that. Tangent.
Okay.
And anyways, I fell in love with comedy writers' rooms. Comedy writing to me was like the thing that pulled me in. And I worked as a PA for 3 years on a few different shows. And I was acting a little bit on the side too. My dad convinced me to audition for a part in that show, The Grinder. And this is a true story. His pitch was, it's a high school douchebag. You'll be perfect for it. I was like, thanks, man.
That's awesome.
Thanks. And then I got the part and I was like, fuck.
That's hilarious.
But I wasn't like, I didn't like blow up or find success or anything. So I knew, I was like, okay, if I'm going to act, it will probably be a byproduct of the other things that I do creatively. Like, because I hadn't formed that passion for it yet. And I had that for writing. I really did. And so when I was working as an assistant to this director on for a season of American Horror Story, it was Cult. And he's the best. Shout out Brad Baker. He's the EP director there and on a bunch of Ryan Murphy projects. But I just badgered him with scripts, and then one thing led to another, and he connected me with someone, and at one point it was like I was maybe going to write for 911, which is the original show on Fox. And then they were like, we're going to do a spinoff. It's probably going to be your dad as the lead, but you'll have more room to write there because it's a smaller room. It's not an established show. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. And the truth is, it goes back to what you were saying, is like, again, an opportunity that arose out of a combination of work and opportunity. And then once you get there, the truth is like, yeah, you can have a door opened for you because of position, but you don't get to stay there unless you produce. And I remember
100%.
Yeah.
Like I completely, we've talked about this a couple times, dude. It's like a lot of people can, get an introduction here, or like meet someone there, or like even get a big opportunity, but it's, what do you do with that? And then what do you do with that over time? Right.
Exactly.
And it's like, if you're passionate about something and you're like consistently on it, fucking rock and roll.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I got that opportunity, and I ended up writing 5 or 6 scripts over 3 seasons. And I got promoted from staff writer to story editor there. I loved it. I had amazing bosses. They taught me most of what I know about the structure of writing, and they were so patient with me. And I made it a point to try and learn as much as I could. And God, this is a long answer. I am sorry.
Dude, we love it.
I'll wrap it up here. I was writing on the show, and I'd have to cover my episodes, the ones that I wrote, and I would have to be on set, and essentially like all the other actors on that show are so lovely and talented. And then, Rob's fine, but I would sit there with him and I'd be like, hey man, this is your line. And he'd be like, yeah, it doesn't sound natural. I'll just do this or whatever. And I would walk off set and call my manager and agent and be like, I'm losing my mind right now. Like, because I can't complain about it. Because I can't be like, because it's, nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear you be like, woe is me about this wonderful position I'm in, and the fact that Rob might be a little extra difficult with you because you're his son. And
it's working with family.
Yeah,
right? Like anyone can,
and everyone can relate to it. It's
any
just
industry,
it's just that specific dynamic, because it's an entertainment, has like a magnifying glass on it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I would call them like basically weekly, and finally, and they would just like laugh at me in a fun way. And then finally we were all kind of like, I think there might be a show here. This is kind of funny. And I had been giving my dad a hard time on social media for like a long time, and I just did it for fun. And
I saw the AARP post of like you guys on a lake or something. I was laughing so hard. You guys are funny.
Yes, I like to humble him. And it had gotten like some media attention. I had done like a talk show or two talking about it with him. And so we knew there was like a general interest. And so that was like the first time I was like, oh, maybe there's a show here. And then, smash cut to a couple years later, and here we are. It's, Unstable premiered on Netflix March 30th.
Thank you for watching Studio 22.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
And follow our socials at Studio 22 Podcast.